In Unit 3, we will have a closer look at the various structural elements. This unit is divided into 10 sections that will elaborate on a number of relevant structural elements and their application. Section 1. Elements of a research paper or a thesis. A number of structural elements were introduced in Unit 2. In Unit 3, we will solely focus on the elements which are important for academic research projects. These elements are the cover page, the abstract, the outline, the list of figures, the list of tables, the list of abbreviations, the list of symbols, the list of formulas, the main body, the bibliography and the list of references, the glossary, the appendix, the declaration of originality, and the data carriers or storage media. Section 2. Cover page. The cover page is the entry point of an academic research paper. It will give the reader a first impression of the accuracy and the correctness to be expected from the forthcoming analysis. Therefore, the cover page should only contain relevant information. That is, the purpose, for example, term paper, bachelor thesis, diploma thesis, or master thesis. The title of thesis or paper. The name of faculty and department. First name, family name. Date and place of birth. Matriculation number. Address, telephone, email. Date of submission. Name of degree program. Term papers contain course title, name of instructor, semester, for example, summer term 2012. Thesis projects contain titles, if any, and names of referees. There are some general rules for cover pages. The cover page should not contain unnecessary or distracting components. You are expected to use a plain design. Accordingly, you should avoid fancy designs like graphics and photographs, which are generally considered to be not academic. Additionally, you should avoid colored fonts, such as colored headlines. A rule of thumb is to use a black font on white paper. To sum it up, the cover page that implies the first impression of the research project should be designed in a conservative and neutral fashion. Section 3. Abstract. The next structural element of a research paper would be an abstract or a summary. Sometimes an abstract is required for thesis projects and might be used by an examination board and the library for archiving your research or thesis project. Academic journals, especially editors' advisory boards, require an abstract for information and publication purposes. The abstract should fit on a single page and contain the following information: a short summary of the research problem and the key findings of your research project. Keywords should be derived from the topic of your thesis. A frequently used classification system, the JEL classification that has been developed by the Journal of Economic Literature. The following example will explain the structure of an abstract. The title and/or topic of our example is Project Finance of Windmill Farms under the German Renewable Energy Act, EEG in brackets. The keywords that can be directly extracted from the topic are project finance, windmill farms, renewable energy, German energy law, EEG, and implicitly subsidies. Sometimes, however, there are more advanced keywords which cannot be extracted from the title or the topic. A deeper understanding of the topic and the underlying research problem is needed in order to identify these keywords. An alternative for identifying more keywords is the JEL classification system. The JEL classification system has been developed by the Journal of Economic Literature. It provides an alphanumerical classification system that can be used for classifying research papers, articles, and monographs. If the title of the research project is Project Finance of Windmill Farms under the German Renewable Energy Act, EEG in brackets, the JEL classification G21, G32, H23, and O38 could be used in order to describe the topic. G21 stands among others for banks, other depository institutions, microfinance institutions. G32 stands among others for financing policy, financial risk and risk management. H23 stands among others for externalities, redistributive effects, environmental taxes and subsidies. O38 stands among others for government policy. The website of the Journal of Economic Literature provides a comprehensive overview of the JEL classification system, which helps to identify the appropriate classification for a topic. Section 4. Outline. Factually, the outline is the table of contents of your thesis or research paper. However, in some cases, the term table of contents is considered unscholarly. There are two options for numbering an outline: the decadal numbering system and the alphanumerical numbering system. The decadal numbering system implies the following components. The addments, directories, and annex section are numbered with Roman numerals and the main body is numbered with Arabic numerals. An advantage of the decadal numbering system is that the position of each chapter can be exactly identified due to the logic of the continuous numbering. Please note that there is no full stop after the last decadal cipher. As an example, it is correct to write 2.1 major features. It is incorrect to write 2.1 point major features. The second option for numbering the outline is the alphanumerical numbering system, as in this example. It has to be pointed out that alphanumerical numbering systems are not allowed by some examination regulations. It is advisable to check first which type of numbering system is suitable for a piece of research. An advantage of the alphanumerical numbering system is that an overly long numbering can be avoided. This example shows an outline that unfolds 6 levels. Thus, instead of writing 2.1.3.1.1.2 within the 6th level, you are able to write just 2 in brackets. The disadvantage is that in the alphanumerically numbered outline, sections of different chapters might carry the same numbers. The example shows that both the section Research Problem as well as the section Major Features are denominated with the Roman 1. This may be considered confusing. A major mistake that has to be avoided is the incomplete structuring of an outline. In the following example, section 2.2 is missing. The general rule is, if a chapter is subdivided, there have to be at least 2 subchapters. Please note that many articles have an incomplete structure. This is one of the reasons why a certain degree of academic literacy and skepticism is needed while using other information sources. Section 5. Directories. Regarding the list of figures and tables, there are two options. First, all figures and tables can be included in a common list of figures and tables. Option 2. If there is a considerable number of figures and tables, it is advisable to provide a separate list of figures and a separate list of tables. There are some general rules for both options. Figures and tables have to be numbered, for example, figure 1 or table 1. Directories have to list the individual numbers of the pages where figures and tables can be found. Only the headlines, not the references of figures and tables, should be listed. It is considered good scientific style to explain abbreviations by specifying them in a list of abbreviations. However, there are some rules that should be observed. It is recommended to introduce abbreviations and their meaning in the text and to list them in a list of abbreviations. To list commonly used abbreviations of your field of study, for example ECA for Export Credit Agency, and to amend names of institutions with legal form and location, for example VW for Volkswagen AG, Wolfsburg, Germany. In contrast, it is considered impolite to abbreviate general terminology of your field of subject, for example SCM as an abbreviation for supply chain management, to introduce self-made abbreviations as for example NIEF for New Institutional Economic Framework, and to list commonly known abbreviations such as etc. or number. As already pointed out, one should introduce the word or expression with its abbreviation in the text. For example, as follows. Thereafter, one has to include the abbreviation and its meaning in the list of abbreviations. Symbols and/or formulas are an integral part of many research projects. All symbols and formulas should be listed in a list of symbols and a list of formulas. In a research project that uses symbols, one should explain symbols in the text where you introduce them, and, additionally, specify symbols in a list of symbols. A list of formulas is common in quantitative research projects. Synonyms of list of formulas are list of equations or list of algorithms. One should number each formula within the text. For example, formula 21, EL is equal to PD times LS times EAD. Generally, it is advisable to check with the instructor or research advisor whether a separate list of formulas is required or desired. Section 6. Main body. The main body is the core of a term paper or thesis project. Generally, the following principles have to be applied. The headlines of the chapters are numbered. The numbering of the chapters has to correspond, that is, to be identical with the numbering of the outline. The first page of the main body starts with the page number 1. There is no intermediate text outside of the numbering structure of the outline. The structure has to correspond with the logic of the research question. In the following, mistakes of numbering and structuring will be addressed. More precisely, the problems of incomplete numbering and illogical structure will be discussed. The following graphic represents the structure of a chapter that forms part of the main body. The chapter is entitled 2 Dynamic Capital Budgeting Methods. The task is to structure this chapter. In the example, the chapter is structured in 4 sections. The first section addresses general considerations regarding dynamic capital budgeting methods. Mistake: it has no heading and is not numbered. The second section is entitled 2.1 Net Present Value Method. It has a heading and it is numbered. The third section is entitled 2.2 Annuity Method. It has a heading and it is numbered. The fourth section is entitled 2.3 Internal Rate of Return. It has a heading and it is numbered. Although section 2.1, 2.2 and 2.3 have headings and are numbered, the overall structure is illogical. Therefore, the structuring and numbering of the chapter and its sections have to be revised. As a first step, the numbering has to be completed. The following graphic represents the structure of the sample chapter with complete numbering. Still, the chapter is structured in an illogical way. Section 2.1 addresses general considerations. Sections 2.2, 2.3, and 2.4 address specific methods. Therefore, the structuring has to be adjusted in a second step. The following graphic represents the correct final structure of the sample chapter with complete numbering and a logical structure. Chapter 2 has to be structured in 2 sections. Section 2.1 deals with general considerations. Section 2.2 deals with specific methods. Section 2.2 has to be structured in subsections 2.2.1, 2.2.2 and 2.2.3. Each subsection addresses one specific method. Typically, mistakes of incomplete numbering are related to intermediate text. Accordingly, the problem of intermediate text is often linked to text without a proper structure. Intermediate text should be avoided. Some instructors and thesis advisors might emphasize, tolerate, or even require the use of intermediate text, then sometimes called journalistic style or narrative style. Other instructors and thesis advisors will consider intermediate text to be redundant, illogical, and/or non-academic, then referred to as a strict academic style. It is necessary to clarify the position of the specific instructor or thesis advisor before working on a research project. There are arguments in favor as well as against the use of intermediate text. Some authors intend to provide a threat by using intermediate text as a means of orientation within the paper or thesis, or as a recursion to the chapter way of investigation. In contrast, intermediate text is considered bad academic style since it can be assumed that an educated reader is able to comprehend the outline, the research problem, and especially the course of investigation. Furthermore, intermediate text creates redundancy and consumes space needed for focused thoughts. Figures and tables are important elements of every research paper or thesis project. The specifics of lists of figures and lists of tables were already addressed in Section 5. At this point, the focus is on aligning figures and tables with the text of the main body. First, there are some formal rules which have to be observed. Figures and tables need an individual and numbered headline, which is typically placed at the top of the figure or table. Figures and tables need a reference, which is typically located at the bottom of the figure or table. Figure or table, headline, and reference have to be placed together on a single page. Additionally, material rules have to be observed as well. Figures and tables have to be logically linked to the text of the main body. Figures and tables have to be introduced and discussed in the text of the main body. A chapter should not start or end with a figure or a table. Section 7. Bibliography and list of references. In many cases, bibliography and list of references are used as synonyms. However, the terms bibliography and list of references can be differentiated as follows. Bibliography refers to information sources that have been used in the research process and may have been cited or not been cited in the text. The list of references, sometimes also referred to as a sources list, only lists information sources that have been cited in the text. Basically, there are two options for referencing: parenthetical referencing and footnote referencing. There are two options for footnote referencing: footnote referencing with abridged information and footnote referencing with full information. Further details on referencing and citation will be given in the chapter Referencing. The use of one of the above-mentioned methods will have a direct impact on the way references have to be listed in a bibliography or list of references. Parenthetical referencing and footnote referencing with abridged information require an unstructured bibliography or list of references, however, in alphabetical order. Footnote referencing with full information allows for a structured bibliography or list of references, which will be explained on the following slide. The structure of a structured bibliography or list of references could be as follows: A. Monographs, B. Articles, C. Articles of anonymous authors, D. Legal text, E. Other sources. Within these segments, references will be listed in alphabetical order and thereafter by the date of appearance in ascending order. Section 8. Glossary and appendix. Some research topics imply the use of specific terminology, for example, the jargon of a company or industry or specific company terms. It can be useful to provide a glossary that lists and explains relevant terms in alphabetical order. Explanations should not exceed 2 to 4 sentences. General terms such as finance, loan, a cash flow, etc. should not be listed in a glossary. A glossary should have a minimum length of 1 page. Explanations of just a few specific terms should be provided in the core text, for example, as a footnote. The following documents should rather be included in an appendix instead of the core text: documents, text of a law, contracts, profiles and financial statements of companies, questionnaires, large amounts of data, statistics, protocols of interviews, pictures, maps, tables, figures, special graphics like flowcharts, org charts, etc. Section 9. Declaration of originality. Typically, examination regulations require a declaration of originality that implicitly confirm the avoidance of plagiarism, that is, copying other authors without proper referencing, and collusion, that is, copying previously submitted research work or secretly cooperating with other candidates. Plagiarism and collusion will be brought to the attention of the examination board and might lead to severe consequences. One should use the text of the Declaration of Originality that is provided by the faculty or department in its citation guidelines. Section 10. Data carrier and storage media. For some thesis projects, it is required to submit soft copies of the thesis as well as all sources from your bibliography or list of references. The submission could be realized by providing a data carrier containing the relevant files or by uploading the files to a learning management system. The soft copy might be used for archiving the research project. Furthermore, the soft copy of the thesis and bibliography might be used for plagiarism and collusion checking.